time today, it just kind of blasted into me that this is what I'm going to talk about. Our connection with the earth, with animals, and so on. And the reason I'm talking about that, this is very amazing and very deep, but I sometimes avoid or would want to avoid a specific topic like something for animal lovers, because not everybody has animals or pets, and so it's a little harder to address that, because I prefer and usually do talk about maybe things that pertain to anybody into spirituality. So in one respect, we could say that I'm going to talk about animals, or our connection to animals, our spiritual connection to animals. But bear with me, even if you're not a pet lover and all that, bear with me, because I will broaden it. Okay? So first, I don't know if you've noticed this lately, but more than any time in my life, I am hearing, seeing, witnessing, experiencing people with animals that are passing away. Their pet cat of 20 years, their pet dog of X number of years, whatever it happens to be. And it's kind of interesting. And you can just say, well, that just happens, or it's happening at a ratio that I've never heard of, seen, or experienced. And you may be the same. I've not heard anybody say, hey, did you notice how many times this is happening? I've not heard anybody notice it. So in that respect, it's kind of bizarre, because why am I noticing it? So it came to me, and I thought about it just for a split second. And as usual, I do my little search find in the Akashic records, kind of a search find. I close my eyes and just go, wow, what's this about? All these people with animals dying. Now remember, some of you aren't pet owners, so you haven't had this, but many of you are friends of pet owners, or your mom or dad had a pet that passed away. So a lot of us have heard this happening. And again, even if you're not a pet owner, aren't interested in that, I will connect this to on a broader level in a sec. So why is this happening? Why all these animals passing away? And again, on a linear level, you come up with some silly human reason, linear answer, just coincidence or whatever. But animals are connected to us, and they symbolize something. So when they're dying, there's something about us that's dying. And we need to pay attention to this. Anytime, even if this weren't a time of a lot of losses of animals and pets, just when any one person has any one pet that passes away, or a person in our lives that passes away, remember, it's not just the person that passes, it's a part of us. Not because we're in a enmeshed relationship and so we die when they die. I mean, whatever they symbolize to us is in that moment changing, death changing. Now, sometimes it's changing with a passing away. Other times it's changing in some other way. We have to actually look within to see the symbolism and whatever else is happening in that through that experience. But let me now tie it together in this way. Our body, when we look at ourselves or each other, we see a dense body. And this is the funny thing. We have a minimum of 7 primary chakras. The ones we're used to are 7. And we have a body related to each of those 7. To simplify it, let's say this. The upper 3 chakras are combined as one. That is our ultimate spiritual Christ body. So that means instead of saying 7 chakras and 7 bodies, let's simplify it a little by saying we have 5, because the top 3 chakras are all summarized in one, our spiritual Christ or divine body, spiritual body. Okay? Now that means you have a physical chakra, emotional chakra, intellectual chakra, and intuitive chakra. The heart center. The throat, third eye, and crown are all combined in one, which is why 5 digits on the hand, 5 limbs counting the head. That's why all that symbolism. So 7 becomes 5. In any case, we have all these chakras and we have bodies for each chakra. If you think about it, it makes sense. Now, each of these chakras, these 7, now 5, has 7 in most cases, or I should say in some form. Each body has 7 sub-layers. The physical body is you're only seeing 3 You're only visibly able to see 3 of my 7 layers of my physical self. The other 4 are etheric. They're right around my body. They're like my little force field surrounding my body. It's called an etheric double because it's an etheric duplicate of my body. And it's kind of a weird thing because that's an anomaly. It's like the etheric realm is a realm to itself, and yet it's part of the physical realm. So there's sort of an anomaly there. But we have a physical self, 7 layers, 3 visible, 4 etheric, but they total 7, right? So 7. The next layer of our being and the next chakra is our astral chakra, which is also our emotional chakra. It has 7 sub-layers that I won't go into. The next chakra up, the intellectual or lower mind chakra, also has a body and has 7 sub-layers of that chakra. And so on, moving up the body. Now, not only do we have a chakra here and so on, and a body that goes with each of those, there's a world, an actual realm to go with each of those. A physical world for our physical self, an astral world for our astral and emotional self, and so on. It's kind of an amazing little system that most people don't know about. But what I'm getting to is this. Let's only talk now about the physical realm. The physical realm, 3 layers are what you see, 4 are etheric. But it's like the microcosm, macrocosm concept, as above, so below. Things mirror each other. So the earth herself is a being, and she too has 7 primary chakras. She too has 7 bodies, but just like I talked about in our own bodies, she has a physical body, and that's partly an etheric body too, and then she has an astral body and a mental body and so on. So here's where that goes. Her physical body is made up not just of the density you see on each other, it's her density, but it's mainly her mineral kingdom. Her other half or part of her physical self, her etheric body, is seen as trees. Our foliage, that's her etheric body. Kind of like saying the hair and skin of our body in a sense, but so her mineral kingdom are her bones, and that's her density and structure, her bones, and so her etheric body is all the vegetation and so on. Her astral body, her emotional body, is the animal kingdom, and then it goes to her mental body. You could say mankind, it relates to her in her mental body and so on. We represent the mind, the lower mind. Okay, and then it goes from there. But animals are her emotional body. We have an emotional body related to our emotions. What are her emotions? What are Gaia's emotions? See, Gaia doesn't just feel. She's such a grand being. I mean, she's a planet and has all these complex ecosystems. So do we, but hers are just grander. They're just bigger. And so Gaia has an emotional body, and all the animals are her emotions. Isn't that kind of cool? Tune into that. I mean, it may not make sense to some people, but the animal kingdom are her emotions. So that's why some people sort of think of a dog or a cat as being a being. They are sort of their own little beings, but they're also part of a collective called Gaia's emotional body. So it's sad when an animal dies, especially when people harm animals. But when you do so, you're doing something to Earth's emotional body. What I'm leading to is that when a lot of animals are passing away, or if there's something you see on the news and somebody's doing something horrendous to some animals or whatever, it's a very sad reflection of our relationship to Gaia. When a bunch of animals are dying or being killed, any form of animal, there's something going on, guys. It's not an accident. It's symbolic, but of what? And I'm saying, when you see this happening, notice it's a lot of friends, a lot of animals passing over, whatever. And then you have to go, wow, wait a minute. The bigger picture, it means that something's happening with Earth, the Earth. She is allowing, in other words, a lot of her animals are dying, which means a part of her, this being Gaia, a part of her is dying. Now that doesn't mean I'm saying fatalistically, but I'm saying a part of her is dying, and we need to pay attention to that. I mean, for a being that enormous, not just physically in size, but energetically enormous, to be suffering in a sense, you have to stop and go, what have we done? Now, you can think immediately, what have we done? Oh, you can go anywhere with that. You want to go with chemtrails, or do you want to go with pollutants in the ocean, or where would you like to go with it? You can go to all those places, clear cutting of trees, and so on and so on and so on. It doesn't help that we're overpopulating the planet, and we are. I don't hear anybody talking about that, which is weird. I hear people talking about needing cleaner water. I hear people talking about cleaning the oceans, and what are you going to do about the oceans, and watch out for this, and watch out. It doesn't help that we're overpopulating the planet. And to even talk about that becomes seemingly politically incorrect. So never mind, I'm saying that, just keep overpopulating the planet and see what that does for us. But there's toxins going into the planet, fine. People are doing, from nuclear waste to just waste. Keep populating the planet, you have more people with more waste, trash being collected every week and dumped somewhere. As long as it's not in your backyard, you're okay with it. So it's got to go somewhere. So it's becoming toxic junk somewhere. However, more importantly, in a sense, is that the toxicity, remember, the astral world is related to the emotional world. So it's not just pollutants on the planet that eventually leach into the vegetation, which is her vital body, her etheric body. It's also toxifying her animal kingdom, which is her emotional body. I'm saying, however, that's happening, but I'm saying our emotional pollutants are polluting her emotional body. So physical pollutants pollute her physical and etheric bodies, which would be rivers, the earth, and the vegetation that work from those rivers and get their irrigation and so on. That's all a problem. I'm introducing something today to say, guys, our emotional toxicity is toxifying her emotional body. And just like plants die after a while when they're too toxic, and somebody goes, geez, we found out there's a nuclear waste plant upstream and it's affecting these plants down here. But take it another step further. Because emotions aren't as easily seen, per se, energetically seen, people ignore it. Pollutants they can track, so they go, oh, look at that. And they're going to ignore the emotional pollutants. So the emotional pollutants include things like anger, hate, judgment, hurt. And if you haven't noticed, there's a bunch of people who have been going through a lot of emotional toxicity. Now you can say, I know who those are. It's this person or that. It's everybody that's been reacting lately. People that are trying to promote racial hatred, gender hatred, these people that are trying to promote anti-male, males are all bad, women are victims and men are all bad, or these people are all victims and those people are all bad. Be careful. That's not an accident. That is an evil that's trying to get people to separate and hate each other. Okay, maybe you don't believe me, but when they do hate each other, I'm just warning you that the anger, hate, any feelings of such in one person, just like waste from the bodies, have to go somewhere. And when they're not dealt with properly, they become toxic. Well, I'm sorry, man, but the same thing happens emotionally. So I believe that the people who claim to have been spiritual, we can see them now for their true colors because there's so many people. Oh, I'm spiritual, I'm masterful. I mean, some of the biggest name teachers in the world showed true colors when election happened or something else happened in the world, and they switched into shock that it happened, anger that it happened. I have to speak up. I'm going to run for an office. I'm going to do this. I'm going to anti that and blah, 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 blah. And it's like we should be all sitting back going, whoa, note to self. They were a good teacher. They were a good this or that on a book level, not as a person. On a speaking level, not as a person. Just call it for what it is so that you don't get too confused or pulled in by such, in a sense, false teachers. This is the time that we were warned about, false prophets. There's always been a false prophet, that sort of thing historically, that's always happening. But this is the time it's never been so rampant with people proclaiming to know something, but to be doing so much the opposite. Used to be a false prophet in the time of the ancient people of Israel. They would call a false prophet because every generation or so you might have one or two people that would mislead or be a little bit ego corrupted when even if they had some insights, the ego would get the best of them and they would be stoned to death. Instead, today we have not a couple per generation. We have them worldwide, and they're in the hundreds, every year that we're hearing, And it's not just them, it's me, you, any of us when we profess to know, proclaim to know something and then live contrary to it. If we could just be honest about it. Like if I have a weakness in myself, it's kind of cool to just own that and say, I could just say for myself, I'm constantly working on anything and micro adjusting everything. So by the time I say, here's a little area that's weak in me, I'm probably already 10 leagues into working on it, 10 dimensions into working on it. But for a lot of people, it's more like they don't know it's there or they hide it. And so it's better to just be clear and honest. I'll tell people what I do, what I think, what I eat, whatever, be as transparent as possible so that that's all clear. What goes wrong is when a teacher goes off telling everybody don't eat certain things, don't eat junk food, and then there's photos of them at McDonald's or whatever, So these kinds of things happen. This is all the emotional toxicity. And I believe that, and I swear to this is kind of a shamanic tradition as well, that animals are connected. They reflect us. That's why in some traditions, you'll see in indigenous people, you'll see this idea that when you see an eagle a few times in a day, it might mean something. A hawk might mean something. A snake might mean something. Whether it's in your dreams or real, the external world, because those are the same, really. The dream world and the waking dream, they're still dreams. They're still connected to the subconscious in some way. So they reflect something. Even a tree falling in front of you. Whatever it happens to be, certain peoples in history, they knew to watch the signs of the times. What are the meanings of things? Like Jesus said, you folks know how to read certain things about the weather, but how do you not know the signs of the times when it's about Christ consciousness, the coming of Christ, the salvation of mankind? And you people are still worrying about, little details of life. Don't sweat the petty stuff of life. So that's kind of what he was saying, but in that wonderful tradition of how consciousness works, we see everything connected. And in that sense, I'm going to say it this way. The animals that are dying, I'm telling you, are sacrificing their lives for us because our emotional toxicity is leaching into the universe, the world, and they are absorbing it and dying. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. And tell your friends, tell your mother. Just tell them this is what you know. Don't tell them you heard it from some hippie-looking guy, because that may not go over well unless they're into listening to hippie-looking guys. But find the most tactful way to share that. Don't preach it. Don't make it fear-based, but do understand it like a wow. Sit with that for a second. Is it possible that animals can give up their lives? And I don't just mean when one of them runs into a fire to save a person and, barking that there's a fire, and then the animal perishes when they woke up the owner and the owner got out and the animal didn't. That's fantastic, amazing. I'm talking about energetically. They unconsciously know things humans don't know because we choose not to know sometimes. Animals often know more because they're staying connected to their collective. We as humans keep disconnecting from the collective, so we lose that collective consciousness, which is, in a sense, like saying being in touch with the Akashic records. So the animals know, and they do give up their lives. I mean, again, not just the usual stories of one saving a person, barking, biting, etc. I'm talking about energetically, they can absorb. You could be sick and an animal will absorb the illness into itself and die. Fish in your fish tank, all the way to, man's best friend, whatever it happens to be. So if we see that this is happening a lot lately, if I'm correct, and I believe I am, then I'm seeing a sign of emotional toxicity being absorbed in the animals. And don't victimize them. The poor things. They know what they're doing, but they're asking us to see it. So we'll do something different to stop it. So they don't mind giving up their lives for us. But any person that gives their life up for someone in vain is really a sad tragedy. Not that they gave the life up, it's when it's in vain, when it serves no purpose because nobody's listening. Because a problem that goes on and ignored, it will only get worse. So if we toxify the animal kingdom and through our emotional toxicity, hatred, I understand, some of you folks think you're justified in hating this politician and that world leader and whatever it happens to be. Certain person wins the Oscar that you didn't want to win, and we got to go all on the rampage over it. It's not worth our hatred. It's not worth our losing our mind and our soul over such things. I'm not saying it's easy to avoid that. We can easily get pulled into things, but be careful. And be careful not to believe in the things the world tells you are the solutions. If only we do this, if only we get a different person in office, if only we get somebody else to write a book, if only, be careful. The if onlys those are the soothsayers of the ego. They're putting out this message of, standing on their soapboxes, if only, and the ego loves saying if only rather than here's what is. The if only, always out of the moment, instead of here's what is. But what if we don't like what is? Great, then let's change it. In the now, let's change it. Not sit and talk about what, if only. So to me, all of this is about a test in our lives, guys. I believe life is a test. Life is filled with tests. We're here to pass tests so that we rise to new levels of consciousness. That's what we're here for. We're not here to fool around or buy an extra car or whatever it happens to be, just stuff. We're not here just to be parents or grandparents. We're here to pass our tests. That's the only way we rise in consciousness. Just because you have a second kid, a third kid, a fourth kid, doesn't mean you rise in consciousness. And it's kind of a waste of time. Why have them? You're only here to wake up. So if you're not waking up by having kids, don't have them. And if you're not waking up by having a partnership, don't have it. Do only things that help you wake up. And I know that may sound strange to some. This is the only reason we're here, is to wake up. It sounds almost a paradox. We're only here to not be here. But in that, what I'm saying is we're here to change what we experience into a holy experience. And that can happen. But it doesn't happen by bitching about the things of the world per se. It happens by looking inside at the symbolism and learning our lessons and passing our tests and then moving forward going, I got it, man. I'm at a new level of consciousness. So our pets, they're not only the Earth's or emotional body, part of the Earth's astral body, emotional body, pets, animals. Let's make this clear. They're also, because we're in a symbiotic relationship with the Earth, she has an emotional body and so do we. So that means the pets dying represent a part of her emotional body dying, but it also represents that a part of our emotional body is dying. Doesn't anybody care? Doesn't anybody want to notice this? And what are you going to do about it? Well, what we're going to do? We're going to go and fight for the rights of animals and dogs and cats. Yeah, good. Go ahead. With hatred, that'll help a lot. No, don't do these things with hatred. Just, first see the symbolism. See if this is true for you. If it's not, then you don't have to do anything. But if this does ring true in some way, then ask yourself, what might you do? I've talked for about 6 months now about coming to a conclusion that I might open a retreat sometime soon called Edenshire. Edenshire.org, I think, is our website. But Edenshire is a concept of heaven on earth. And maybe most of my life I had a thought of, God, wouldn't it be great to have a place, a sanctuary for people and animals? And some of my friends, kind of have laughed about it. Like, you can't plan on a place with animals. I swear to God, man, you cut me loose. If I get the funds, man, I become dangerous in a good way. So I'm putting it out there for the funds, the lottery, or whatever it's going to happen. And I, if you want to really know, I mean, in case it seems like a secret, I do imagine, this to be a sanctuary for animals. I will put a fence up all the way around this property because I would like hundreds and hundreds of acres. I don't want people hunting in my mountains, in my properties, or whatever you want to call them. I say mine for a reason. It's a figure of speech to say, I'm going to represent something healthy. I don't have to go out and try to harm people that aren't living very healthy, but I can at least create a sanctuary of sorts in my own way, just as you can. I don't think you should just go and try to become a cat lady and have 50 cats in your house. And that becomes a breeding of illness, and it can become very unsanitary and psychologically a symbol of a lack of health. But I do believe, try to help with getting animals fixed so that they're not breeding too much, and so on and so on. Rescue animals if you can, if you have the time, if you have the funds, if you have the way, the means. But I'm saying, I would have this sanctuary. I would like to make it a place for people, but also for animals to be able to live. I don't care what kind of animals. I mean, within reason. I can't put elephants up in the mountains of Colorado if that's where I end up. But most definitely, I would like there to be, deer and elk and whatever that aren't getting shot at. I would love to see anything from domesticated animals to less domesticated. They have to get along, they do. I mean, I'm not there to create a whole ecosystem of animals, eating each other. I'm just talking about life and living. And I believe that if we hold a space of love there, the lion will learn to lie down with the lamb, although I'm not planning to raise lions there. So our emotional body, guys, is dying. It means it's as though we're saying when all these animals are dying, it symbolizes something in us that's dying, like we don't care or we're so hurt, and that we're so hurt that we begin to numb. We begin to lose consciousness. And I just find that to be very dangerous. I really do. But I believe that this can turn around. I believe that there's a symbolism with the animals giving up their lives. I believe that animals are connected to us in ways that I've just described, but I want to make this clear that there are people that hide behind animals for their sanity and so forth. There is an unhealthy enmeshment some people have with animals. You'll know the difference because it's almost as though they only get along with animals, not people. They only love animals, not people. Now, I understand how they got to that point. Humans can be damn hurtful. But our prayer is that those people too will heal. They will come to a place of, I guess I'll try and love people too. It's got to be eventually. And if you don't, and you only attach and love animals and respect animals, great. You'll pass on with that issue. You're going to come back living somewhere where there are no animals at all to make you have to deal with humans. So I'm sorry to say, you can't just be an anti-human. An animal lover that says I'm an animal lover but anti-human is not a healthy person. They're not a holistic person. I understand they love animals. It's really nice. But I'm not talking about us all becoming like that extreme, I'm just saying love for all, but recognize what the animals represent. Just like the trees and other things. Everything living should be allowed to live, but we have to be careful. Some constraints in life to keep harmful things from getting out of control. But man, this world isn't really propagating this idea. It's consumptuous, this world and the leaders. It's consumptuous, and they take and they kill and they destroy because it's those who have money have power. That's what they think. So they just do everything to make more money and get more power. And it's what a weird little game, but we don't have to be part of that. That too will pass. That's all going to expire. God's will be manifest on earth. And it's Edenshire, it's Eden, it's heaven on earth. So lastly, I want to say this, that although there are people that look like they're really animal oriented, but not human oriented, balance is the key there. We already understand that. But here's what's kind of cool. Even the people who are really hyper animal oriented, the animals connect to the emotional body of the earth and ourselves. The animals connect to the emotional body of the earth. What earth? Mother Earth, which is a physical manifestation of the Divine Mother, which is an aspect of God. So even people who are, really into animals are really, in a sense, in their unconscious way, trying to connect with not just animals, but the earth. Emotional aspect of the earth, but the earth mother, and therefore the Divine Mother. They may not even be into God or believe in God, but inadvertently or unconsciously, unbeknownst to them, they're on a search, they're questing for knowing the Divine Mother through their one little kitten, their 5 little dogs, or whatever it is. That's just the way they're doing it. I just believe that we need to become more and more conscious of everything we do, why we do it, because then it takes it to a new level. But it is nice to know that even the misled ones that are really caught up in an animal or whatever, that, underneath it, they're really looking for love with the mother. They're trying to connect with the mother. And that's always a beautiful thing. Seeing it makes it even more beautiful. So I pray this has made sense. And I'm going to, kind of come to a close here in just a second. But I pray, that this has made sense. I just wanted to, sort of convey that these things all happen for a reason, and that doesn't mean a blind reason like, well, gee, it happens for a reason. I'm saying we should know what the reason is. Not analytically know, but in higher consciousness know. So do things with consciousness. And if you have lost a pet, or a friend has lost a pet, you might want to suggest a ritual of sorts, a ceremony. And here's what I recommend. The main thing to convey to them, or to yourself, if you lost a pet or whatever, how do I know if my relationship with my pet is healthy? Well, when your pet passes away and it devastates you and you can't go out of the house for weeks. Somebody was telling me this months ago. Oh, my husband and I, we lost I forget what it was, a dog or a cat. I think it was a cat. And oh, we can't even go out for weeks. So we've become antisocial. We can barely live. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that's really pretty messed up. And I would hate to think that is the highest consciousness I have, one that cannot function because of the passing of an animal or a plant or even a person. I want to look at what they mean to me and make ritual or ceremony out of it to take me to a higher level. So it does happen. But what I was saying was how to know whether my relationship with them is healthy. One is if they die or get sick, it devastates me. Let's make this clear. So don't pretend it's spiritual. Don't justify it. Just call it what it is. Wow, I am dysfunctionally connected to my animal. I don't know what to do. Don't want to do anything about it. I'm just going to leave it this way. Great. Own it. However, another option, if you can recognize that the animal you claim to love, if you really love it, truly a real love, not a fake love, not a dysfunctional love, but a real love, then here's what you would be feeling. Yes, you might still mourn, but that's because the animal, which is part of the emotional body, is part of your emotional body. So when your animal passes away, it's bringing up an emotion in you or emotions in you. It's triggering my emotions because it is my emotions. My dog, my cat, they are my emotions. My tendency to lash out or bite at people often will be my animals biting, being defensive, being shy, always under the bed, never wants to be social with people. That shows my unhealed wounds and shynesses and whatever. The animals are doing these things to go, hey, owner, let me act this out for you. This is you. Biting at people, clawing at people, antisocial. And we're like, oh, isn't that cute? We just don't even get it. It's ridiculous. And they're like, dang, I just got to die and come back as a squid in another lifetime and try again and suck you down when you're swimming. I'm going to get your attention somehow, So try this. If you really love your animal, then see it this way. God gave you a gift of love in the form of your animal. That's a fact. God helped to manifest. It's actually the divine mother aspect of God, but God manifested that animal as love and as her emotional body being extended to your emotional body in the form of an animal, which is the emotional body. And gifting your emotional body where you go, oh wow, a pet, I love that. That's great. Then when it's time for the animal to go, instead of being devastated and hating the world over it, take the animal and say, wow, God, I'm going to gift it back to you. You gave me this gift of love in this form of this animal, and I'm going to gift you love, a gift of love in the form of this animal's soul. See, God likes souls, not bodies per se, but souls. God likes us to give it our soul, our heart, in other words. Here we are, rather than just, here I am. My nails are done. Do you love me more, God? Of course not. It's, here I am. I'm looking at my issues more. Is that better? Yes, it is. See, it's the inner work God favors more than the outer, if that makes sense. So hopefully, like I said, that this all makes sense. I really, really feel for folks that lose animals, but at the same time, I'm not stupid. I know the difference between dysfunctional anger, hatred kinds of losses of animals, just more anger at the world and more anger at God because your animal died, etc., etc. Come on, man, see the deeper meaning and see the deeper meaning of what's happening on the earth. The world is worsening at an alarming rate, Jesus told Helen, who channeled A Course in Miracles. Can you imagine that? The world is worsening at an alarming rate. For you to alarm Christ, that's pretty intense. But that's what he said. If it's worsening at an alarming rate, it means we have to move at an alarming, for lack of a better word, speed to kind of match it and turn things around. We have to start waking up, guys, and doing our part. So I pray that this somehow reaches you in your own way, in your own interpretation, but hopefully a love-based one. If it's not a love-based interpretation, then you didn't hear me. And then it's your own thing going on. But I wouldn't advise it. More anger is going to become more toxicity to the emotional body of you and of the world, and then more animals will sacrifice their lives to try to cleanse the body of the earth, or the emotional body of the earth. Okay?